All right, so let's get into these kidnapping dreams, which I'm actually going to take more from the angle of dream interpretation in general. And when it comes to dream interpretation, I mean, of course, I interpret my own dreams personally, but I rarely, if ever, interpret other people's dreams. And that's mostly just because I feel like in order to do that, I would have to know the person like super duper well. And even if I did know them well, like I don't think I would know them better than they know themselves. And since, so much of their own personal life experiences and everything will influence their individual dream life, I feel like who could do it better than them specifically? Now, of course, you can kind of come at it from the angle of kind of like a therapist or something where, you basically guide them and you have them figure out the answer for themselves and toss some ideas at them. So I think coming at it from that angle could potentially work. But when it comes to these kidnapping dreams, because that it was the direct question that made me shoot these last couple of videos, is, well, I guess first of all, what kind of media are you consuming? Like what kind of media were you consuming the day before you had that dream? And then what kind of media do you consume just in general? But then you got more the kind of standard stuff that I think, most people would just say, or if you were to Google it or something, maybe it means you're feeling trapped by a relationship or some kind of like life circumstances or responsibilities. Or it could also be your mind processing some past traumatic or frightening event. But really, when it comes down to dream interpretation, I think the individual is way better off coming up with their own list of like what their different dream signs and images mean to them. And then, of course, I guess also, if you're not at all familiar with the dream life, it could be very beneficial to start dream journaling in some sense so you can get more familiar with the dream life. But once you kind of start getting your own personal lists made up, then you can go ahead and reference books or online resources for some of these just more general meanings, the different dream signs, and see if they line up with you. Now, I'm sure you would never take, the entire book just right there and put that right into your own personal list. But, pick and choose. If you happen to read one that says, road means this and happens to line up with how you feel about it, then of course you can go ahead and incorporate that. But then again, say maybe, you're reading through it and you throw out a whole bunch and then later on something happens, you can make a connection to something the book said, and all of a sudden it lines up now, then by all means go ahead and you can add that into your own personal list later. But when it comes to interpreting your dreams, here's a couple useful questions you can go ahead and ask yourself. So the first one would be like, what was that day like, leading up before you had to that dream? What was your dominant emotions of that day, and then did that influence the dream? Are you going through any big life themes or circumstances or changes that could have influenced the dream? And then also, if you were lucid enough to be aware of it, what kind of intention were you setting for yourself that night as you were falling asleep? And then did that have any influence on the dream? And then the next day when you're actually journaling it, you can kind of throw some of these general questions at it. Well, first of all, like just the basic one, what was the theme and storyline of the dream you were having, right? That led to either it be kidnapping or you trying to interpret any other dream. Of course, again, what kind of media were you consuming? But then you also want to make note of like the dominant feelings and emotions you were feeling in that dream. And if you were aware enough in the dream, have good enough dream recall, take particular note of what was happening directly before the kidnapping happened, or whatever else you're trying to decode, how you felt while you were being kidnapped or doing the kidnapping. I'm not sure which way that goes. And then how you felt, coming out of it or when it was over. And then after that, you can get to just like the straight up literal, symbolic, or metaphorical meanings of the different dream signs, symbols, imagery, or dream characters that you happen to come across in the dream. So I hope that helps. And yeah, keep the lucid dreaming practice legit.